In the past 2 months, I caught up with all of One Piece. I wrote through the anime for everything I could, then read everything else that was not animated yet. I love the journey, and the story remains constantly amazing, with the latest few arcs being some of my favorites. I want to give you my thoughts after binging this amazing series. My tier list will be divided from top to bottom, as Godly, which is my favorite, could rewatch over and over, all the way to Not For Me. These arcs I would never really choose to watch again, and I personally did not enjoy. Well, no place better to start than the start. Romance Dawn. This first arc kicks off with an enticing idea of adventure and excitement, introducing us to Shanks, Luffy, and his first mate Zoro. We get foreshadowing for the rest of the show in these few episodes, piquing our interest to continue the series and see what it's all about. I also think it's the most Shanks screen time we have gotten in a single episode. Please give me more Shanks, Oda. Anyways, with all that being said, this sits firmly in my great tier. Then we got Orange Town. With excitement from taking down a Marine captain to Buggy the Clown. Clicking into this arc, my excitement faded. As Buggy, he was a clown. I think this arc was a bit weak, with the only notable thing happening is Nami becoming friendlier with the crew. Buggy's not a very compelling villain to me and quickly makes himself out to be a joke character. Honestly, I enjoyed him more in the live action, and I even had to read this again just to remember some of the details. For that reason, it's actually going to be on the lowest tier for me, to being the first member of the Not For Me club. Syrup Village. I'll tell you straight up, I was a bit of an Usopp hater for a while. I found him pretty annoying up until Thriller Bark. The Black Hat parts were okay, but pretty lackluster overall. There are some things to appreciate, such as the meticulous approach they took, and then the hidden morals about lying. However, these beats were not hitting that hard for me, and with that we get back to members of the Not For Me club. I will tell you, I don't think it is the worst arc though. And then we get to the Baratie. To be honest, after the last 2 arcs, I was losing hope for this One Piece thing, but luckily this changed it for me. It was foreshadowed that the Straw Hats were going to get a new member, and a chef at that. What better place to find one than an elite restaurant? From here we are introduced to a man that needs no introduction, Sanji. I enjoy the backstory between him and Zeph, and Sanji's undying love of food and sticking to what he believes is portrayed with lots of care here. It also makes you really want to root for him. Besides just Sanji, we get introduced to one of the most mysterious characters in One Piece, Dracula Mihawk. A personal favorite of mine, he flexes on Zoro and leads to one of the best scenes in the whole series. Zoro promises to only fight colored people for the rest of the show, and he's allowed to live. Then this is shortly followed with the emotional sequence of Sanji being sent off. I originally had this in my great tier, but after thinking about it, I think I'm going to put it as my first amazing. Next up is Arlong Park. What can I say about this that has not been said already? This arc dissipated all the doubt I had in One Piece and solidified that this show is going to be great. The backstories are tragically beautiful, freedom is part of what Luffy fights for, and this arc exemplifies that throughout it. And up to this point, I wasn't too sure on my feelings on Nami, but from here on she is wonderful, and I love that Oda doesn't neglect his female characters as much as most shonen. This is going to be a pretty high tier amazing for me. Loguetown introduces us to Smoker and Logias, but that's really it. Don't get me wrong, him fighting Luffy is pretty cool, and the mystery man that saves him is still the most mysterious man to this day, but overall it just wasn't that long, but pretty good nonetheless. Reverse Mountain suffers from the same thing as Loguetown. We meet Laboon and Crocus, who might be the 3rd strongest guy we have seen up to this point, but besides that, not much happens. Arc was too short for anything really to happen. No big fight or any big consequences, so we can fit Loguetown in good as well. In Whiskey Peak, we get introduced to Baroque Work members and Vivi. We also get the very dope scene of Zoro taking out 100 guys, but like the previous 2 arcs, there's not much here, so it's hard to stand out. Overall, I enjoyed it, and it will fit right in the middle of good for now. Little Garden was awesome. Introducing us to giants and seeing 2 $100 million bounties this early was exciting. This arc also has some development for Usopp, and after rereading it, I find it funny how intimidating Mr. 3 was seen here. Honestly, very good arc, so we'll top that row for now. Drum Island introduces us to my favorite Straw Hat and Chopper, so this arc's gonna be right on top of Godly. And now into Alabasta. Nah, I'm just kidding. During Drum Island, the fighting takes a backseat to the story and politics going on. We hear some very moving backstories, and it leads to a mass hatred of the antagonist. So when he does get beat easily over and over, you still feel joy from it. From Dalton to Chopper, I love the slowdown of the main stories to focus on the characters, allowing them to breathe. It's going to be a high grade on my list. Now we really get to Alabasta, our longest arc up to this point. Luffy and his crew take on Crocodile and Baroque Works while helping Vivi restore her kingdom. Crocodile is a compelling villain and is genuinely scary up to this point. Similar to Smoker's, Logia Fruit poses a huge problem to the crew, and it seems almost indestructible. The epic world building that the last few weaker arcs created to lead to this was all worth it. There were some weaker moments such as Pell not dying, which set almost a precedent for the story to come, but in the end, Luffy's mom gets an amazing for me. Jaya introduces some pretty cool stuff such as Blackbeard, some warlords, and even the 5 elders. We also meet one of Luffy's buddies, Bellamy, and it was a strong arc for the lore, but if it only being 9 episodes in length, there was not much that could have happened. I really enjoyed the Bellamy smackdown and the bar scene, so it would be right in the middle of good. Skypiea is where the Straw Hats find 2 gods. They befriend one and humiliate the other. I really enjoyed Danelle's presence, and if Luffy did not have the hardest counter to him ever, I think he would have been doing work on the seas. He has to have one of my favorite fruits, and the story is a great example of a One Piece arc. It has traits that are littered throughout the story on a smaller scale, and is beautifully done. I will say that while watching it at times it is feeling slow and a bit dragged on to me, but all in all it lands in the middle of great. Long Ring Long Land is an arc in One Piece, and Aokiji shows up in the end. Thankfully after that arc we got refreshed and stepped into Water 7. Here we are teased about getting a new crewmate once again. After meeting the shipbuilders, I was certain that Kaku was going to be our guy. I was ready for all the Usopp and Kaku jokes. But woefully mistaken I was, and I loved that twist. After meeting Frankie, I was pleased that it was going to be him instead. Including Iceberg and the aforementioned characters, it was a great cast that was written wonderfully. The ending of this arc on the sea train acts as amazing transition to one of the best arcs in the show. I would put Water 7 right on high amazing. Straight up, Enies Lobby is my favorite arc in all of One Piece. I love the story, the fights, and the pacing of it all. Robin was steadily growing as one of my favorite Straw Hats, and this arc made it clear. The Rob Lucci fight was one of the most straight hands fight in the whole show, and it gave me Naruto vibes. We had to see Luffy's first transformation. I mean, this is the dude's equivalent to Super Saiyan. We even get to see a Buster Call in this arc, and not gonna lie, the part of Mary at the end made me cry. Enies Lobby is the first and highest ranking of the godly tier. In only 13 episodes, the Post-Enies Lobby does a lot. We learn about Garp's relation to Luffy, we get to see Ace and Blackbeard fight, and even Shanks and Whitebeard clashing. Besides that, the Straw Hats gain 2 new members in Frankie and the Sunny, which are wonderful in their own right. Leave it to Oda to give us so much in just a few episodes. This will overtake Skypiea for me and be the 6th highest rated for now. Thriller Bark is one of the hardest arcs for me to rate on this list. The fight with Perona was the first episode I ever saw of One Piece at a friend's house. Shout out if you're watching. Her fight was so funky and I really liked it. Seeing Usopp using his special traits to fight her when no one else could was a big thing for me. It seemed like we were finally getting some development for him, and I was all for it. I did not love this arc as it really dragged, and besides Usopp, Zoro tried to redeem it at the end with one of the coldest moments done in anime. With Brook also becoming a member, I have to give it the leading spot in good for now. Next up we get Sabaody, which eagerly sets up the new world. We meet some vital characters here such as the Supernovas or the Worst Generations, and Rayleigh. Besides that, there are some lore dumps about the Celestial Dragons, which made me actually angry at my monitor. With everything being said, it seemed like they were untouchable, so when Luffy finally punched one, I was smiling ear to ear. I was proud of my Captain Luffy, and it felt good that he was the protagonist. Besides that, Kizaru makes an appearance and starts one-shotting everyone. The arc ends with the Straw Hats being defeated and being shown that they do not belong in the new world, as they are too weak. The arc was jam-packed with goodies and it was amazing. After getting launched by Kuma, we get to Amazon Lily. This arc was pretty good, but I think people tend to overhype it a bit. I enjoyed learning about Hancock's lore and seeing the warlords, but not much really happens in 14 episodes. Besides that, we learn about hockey, but what else? Compared to the last arc, it doesn't hold up that much for me, but it does set up Luffy's next adventure, as he learns about Ace's execution. This arc may be weak compared to a lot of the arcs, but this is One Piece after all, and it was still pretty good. I would much rather watch these 14 episodes than Thriller Bark again, so it can be the new leader of good. Impel Down is the Jailbreak arc. Luffy infiltrates a military base with the help of Boa to save Ace. This is the fastest pace One Piece has seen at this point, and there's an overlapping theme of Dante's hell in the system of the prison, and it really shows how Luffy's feeling throughout the arc. Personally, I thought the buggy parts were not the best, especially since we have Poopy Pants being one of the funniest characters in the series. The race to free Ace was exciting the whole way through, and with not seeing a death throughout the series, I was confident Luffy was going to save him. The other characters in this arc are also wonderful in their own right. Teaming up with Crocodile was a good mix, and meeting the boss Jinbei for the first time made my imagination go crazy. It seemed like Luffy was getting a warlord crewmate, and besides them, Bon Clay was the star of the arc for me. I never thought I'd care so much for him, but in one arc he gained a special place in my heart. There is a lot more I could say, but this arc is pretty amazing, and I think we all agree on that. Following the jailbreak, we get the war in Marineford. I do not have a spicy take here, I would not disrespect it. This is one of the most epic arcs in all of One Piece, and probably anime in general. We get to see the strongest Yonko, Emperor, and Marine dish it out, and it really does what it sets out to do. My only complaint of it all is that Ace's death did not hit too hard for me, as it almost seems like we have not seen that much of him yet. I felt bad for Luffy, but personally I did not have the biggest connection to him either. But to be fair, I was surprised that they killed him at all. Either way, it was one of the first times we saw Oda kill a character and did not stop with Ace. Whitebeard fell too, and I was astonished that he went from killing no one to 2 major players. The ending of this arc was also poetic with Shanks, and I loved it all. This would be ranked number 2 in godly for me. Post-war, it was the darkest time in Luffy's life. Seeing our captain the state he was in was devastating. Shout out to Jinbei for helping him throughout it all and allowing Luffy to recover. The flashback of Ace and Sabo was pretty killer and one of the deepest moments yet. There were a lot of emotions flowing, and after Luffy recovers, so does the story. Rayleigh is going to train Luffy, and the rest of his crew is also going to become much stronger. This turned out to be a pretty amazing arc that confronts a lot of dark issues well. It also sets up the future with a lot of anticipation. In Return to Sabaody, there's only 6 episodes, but we get to see the Straw Hats back and better than ever. I thought that the fake crew was pretty funny, and it had me laughing throughout it all. Seeing the members so much stronger was getting me excited, and seeing Kuma defending the Sunny opened up some questions. But it showed that he was setting up the crew for success, or at least trying to. There was no real problem in this, but due to its length, I think it can only really be a great arc. Fisherman Alley was making me think the Celestial Dragons were right. This arc was so dragged out and almost nothing happened. The main villain was a lame version of Arlong who was shooting up drugs to compete. Dude lost a 1v1 in water in one hit to the second ranked guy. The other main villain had one of the lamest powers and did nothing in the grand scheme of things. Redeeming this arc was the last few episodes where they start dropping some more nukes, telling us that Poseidon is a person and Luffy being connected to Joy Boy with the voice of all things. That saves it a bit and it gets us saying the good tier, but I can't lie, I was a bit worried about the post time skip after finishing this arc. We are saved, because personally I thought Punk Hazard was pretty dang cool. I really liked Law, and him forming an alliance with the Straw Hats really opened my eyes to how big we were going to get. Caesar Clown is a villain that you cheer up to get beat up the whole time, and we get some good lore throughout this arc, meeting a samurai from Wano and diving into Kaido's empire, especially Doflamingo and the black markets. Overall, I think it was a pretty strong arc. Even the ending with one of my favorites, Aokiji saving Smoker, it was a really good surprise. After finishing this arc, it felt like we were truly getting into the new world and things were going to get serious. Great arc for me. I've seen a lot of hate when it comes to Dressrosa. This is the longest arc up until this point, saying 102 chapters or 118 episodes. This is longer than a lot of series in their own right, and I loved it. I enjoyed Oda taking his time fleshing out all these new and unique characters throughout it all. During the Coliseum, it did seem a bit confusing that so many people were portrayed as important. Personally, it did not matter to me, especially after the homie Bart personified me in the show. Some of the characters were not expanded on nearly as much as the others, but it was evident that they were all special in their own regards. And Oda taking the time at the start to develop them was definitely the right choice for what happens later on. Sabo is reintroduced there as well, and although he seems almost like a cop-out to Ace's death, I was really happy to see him. Continued to flex throughout the rest of the arc, and his connection to the Revolutionary Army was captivating. Besides just Sabo, we get to meet Isho, the Blind Admiral. The presence of a military admiral and these pirates fits with the hectic nature of this arc. Kyrus also shines here, being able to pull on my heartstrings so quickly and commanding a presence. How could I go through the new characters without mentioning the Tontadas? I love these little guys, and Usopp's progression of them was hilarious and gloriful. Long live God Uso Land. This is already the most in-depth I've gone into an arc, but the closing part was also astounding. We get to see Luffy enter a new form and absolutely destroy Doflamingo. While at the same time we see the Marines, townspeoples, and pirates all fighting for freedom under Luffy, just to buy him a few minutes. When all the action stops, the payoff ends up being worth it. Luffy forms a ginormous ally in the Grand Fleet, and all those characters we spent time on stay important. We also get one of the best scenes with Isho facing regret and blinding himself. This arc is bigger and better than Alabasta, with Doflamingo representing everything Crocodile wishes he could be. I didn't even get into how Doflamingo is one of the best villains. The pacing of the anime is a bit slow and it starts dragging, and also sometimes it was very hard to keep up with so many people, but having a 100 episode helps, and besides that, Law took some big L's in this arc. But overall, I think it was amazing, and right now it's going to be my number 3. We can talk about it in the comments. After Dressrosa, we get to the island elephant Zou. This is back to the main quest of taking down Kaido and helping the samurai. We get to see our first confirmed billion berry bounty in Jack and get to meet the Minks. The mixed world is an animal's paradise and Chopper takes advantage of that. The action takes a bit of a back seat here and the lore takes over. We get such good lore though, we get such good lore throughout the whole arc. I mean, we learn more about the One Piece, Roger, the samurais, and even Sanji. It was a little bit longer than I would have preferred, but overall, it was a great arc. Whole Cake Island is another 100-episode adventure. It starts off with the main goal of bringing back Sanji. It turned out to be much more. We get to see Luffy take out Cracker, who has an 850 million berry bounty, which is by far the greatest we have seen him take on. Throughout the fight, we are being introduced to the world and seeing how beautiful Big Mom's Disney World is. In this arc, we get a lot. There is Sanji's full backstory, Big Mom's backstory, and the island's backstory. Luffy also starts to see the future and the best Brook moment in the series so far. There was a lot of hype and lore intense moments throughout it all, and the first half carries pretty hard, as that's when we get most of the best scenes. I mean, after the wedding, I feel like the quality starts dropping a bit. Started to find Big Mom annoying, and Luffy's fight was carrying the second half. The last few episodes, there's not much really progressing besides the Kataguri fight. The very end of Jinbei and his crew was pretty satisfying though, and Kataguri smiling at the end was a bow on top. Overall, the arc was still pretty amazing for what we did get, but it missed out on being godly for me. Following the trend of big arc, small arc, we get the Reverie up next. It is a packed 12 episodes. I'm fascinated with the Celestial Dragons, and this arc really shelled out a lot for me. The Revolutionary Army plot is dope, and then setting up a prison break for Kuma was exciting. And then on the other side, we get to see the Straw Hats start to get bounties that they deserve. Luffy also gets to clear the 5th Emperor, and from here we see the one scene that has caused me to lose so much sleep. Is Shanks evil? Anyways, this arc was great, and the only thing holding it back was of course its slaying. Wano is the longest arc in the series, and with that comes one of the best arcs in the series. Developing a lot of the characters we see here for hundreds of episodes leading up to one of the most epic battles seen. This arc has everything that a lot of my favorite arcs have had, but amps it up to a new level. We get some of the best lore drops, we get some of the most amazing fights, and the art is beautiful. This arc sits at number 2 for me, and I absolutely loved it. Lastly, we get to Egghead. We have not seen too much of it yet, but what we have seen has been fantastic. We are seeing all the major players beginning to mobilize, and we are finally seeing some of the lore that has been hidden from us since the start of the series. Getting that Garp and Shanks chapter was enough for me to rank this at number 4 in godly for now. I literally don't care if the flashbacks is just explaining how Brook shits. But as it really goes on, I could definitely see it getting higher, but I do think it could not really get that much worse. Put me in the comments and tell me what you agree or disagree with, and if you enjoyed, you know what to do.